Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me this week. So this week I'm going to be talking about some tips if you want to be an independent consultant. I've had several conversations with different people and I have 5 tips if you want to be an independent consultant. So if you're interested in this topic, then please keep on watching. So this week I'm going to be talking about 5 tips that I have if you want to be an independent educational consultant. And my first tip is to answer your emails in a timely fashion. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to answer within 5 seconds of receiving the email, but if you leave it weeks and weeks and weeks, it's most likely that you will not come back to that email. So I have my own personal rule. It's normally within 12 to 24 hours, unless I'm traveling on a plane. I think it's really important that we're timely with the emails so that we're not keeping people waiting for your reply. So my first tip is to reply your emails in a timely fashion. Now, my second tip for being an independent consultant is to always arrive early. If you're in person, I would always arrive at least half an hour early before my session. If it's an online meeting, at least 5 to 10 minutes. And because I'm normally the host, I either use the waiting room or turn the waiting room off so that I'm there and we can have a chance to socialize a little bit before our session starts. And if you're in person, that half an hour gives you time to connect with different people that come into the room early as well. So my second tip is to arrive early before your actual sessions. And then my third tip is to always send out a reminder for meetings. I forget myself. Sometimes I lose track of the time zones and what meetings I have. So all of my meetings are on a Google Calendar, but I think it's always good practice normally the day before, I will send out a reminder. So normally I'll send out an email to virtual participants a day before the meeting, just to remind everyone of our scheduled time together. So my third tip is to send out reminders because we're all really busy with busy schedules, and it's always really helpful to send out a reminder before a meeting. Now, my fourth tip is to not just have a verbal agreement with your clients, but to also have something written. It's really important that you have written down, whether it's a letter of agreement or a memorandum of understanding, but something that's written down that gives transparency and clarity for both parties and the expectations of both parties. So nothing is a surprise, or you don't have to have awkward conversations later. So number 4 top tip is always have something written down between you and your client with an agreement of all of the expectations of each party. Now, my 5th tip is something that I live by. Unless I'm in hospital and I'm unable to get out of the hospital bed, I will never, ever cancel. And that includes a meeting, that includes in-person workshops. I have never canceled an in-person workshop. And I think that's really important that you uphold your word. Schools normally will block out scheduling time. There's a lot of resources that have gone into planning for your visit. So my 5th tip is never, ever cancel an in-person visit unless you really are physically or mentally unable to fulfill that duty. And then I thought I'd give you a bonus one. I was going to talk about 5 tips, but I just thought of a 6th tip, which is really important. And I'm going to try and say this as delicately as possible. But don't take on clients that you know have a bad reputation. And we all know that institutions are not perfect. But if you know of an institution that has a really bad reputation, really ask yourself, do you need to engage with them? Is it worth the trouble and the hassle of taking them on as a client? So my 6 tips were: answer your emails really timely, always arrive early before an in-person workshop or even a virtual meeting, send out reminders before the meeting, always have something written down in terms of an agreement between both parties. Number 5, never ever miss an in-person scheduled visit unless it's physically or mentally impossible for you to do so. And the bonus one was, don't take on clients that have a bad reputation. Okay, thank you so much for joining me this week, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.